Hey guys, today we're going to discuss the repair of the DCI syringe. DCI makes several syringes for several manufacturers, which means basically most of your syringe nomenclature is going to be the same, except for an ADEX syringe. We're going to do an ADEX syringe on a separate video. Now, there are some unique characteristics of an ADEX syringe that are not characteristic of this syringe. This is important stuff, guys. I know technicians have been doing it 10-15 years, that syringe skills are severely lacking. And I also know technicians that will not repair a syringe that sell a new syringe. If I was the doctor, I would not buy a new syringe when that syringe could be rebuilt. This is a good way to score some good points with the doctor, is actually rebuilding the syringe instead of replacing the syringe. The syringes are made to be repaired. The only indication that if you cannot repair a syringe is to examine the head of the syringe closely. Look for any dents, dings in the head of the syringe, especially around the buttons, that could impede the buttons or make the buttons stick. If the syringe is dropped, which they are dropped quite often, they miss putting them in the hanger on the unit and they end up on the floor, it will actually dent the head of the syringe. The syringe dent will reflect in the button port and will make the syringe inoperable. That should be the only time of a sale for a new syringe. In case the doctor just out and out requests for a new syringe, by all means put one on. You should stock some basic syringe parts. Syringe repair kit from DCI, which is part number 3066, and the Quick Connect tip holder assembly. The Quick Connect tip holder assembly is so. These items should be stocked, guys. In the event that you don't have these when you have a free service to do, don't worry. You've got a syringe in your truck on your delivery unit. You can actually use the parts off of that syringe to repair this syringe. So no need to panic. Also, most of these O-rings, except for a few examples, are available in your DCI O-ring kit. Now, we're not going to get into the specifics of actually putting O-rings on the button. We're going to replace the cartridges and do it the basic thinking man's way. For convenience in the video today, we have already removed the syringe from the delivery system and left the tubing on the delivery system. There's no need to remove the syringe during your actual service. You can leave the syringe attached to the delivery system. First thing we're going to do is we're going to unscrew the handle. Syringe has definite parts. When you call me asking for help, please remember and make note of these parts so we can all be on the same page. This is a handle, obviously. This is the syringe head. This is the head of the syringe for obvious reasons. Syringe buttons and the tip holder. Tip holder, not the tip. This is a tip. You'll see a couple of different kinds of tips. You'll see plastic tips and metal tips. Both are acceptable. A plastic tip does not perform as well as a metal tip because the doctor and the hygienist uses the tip to retract the cheek and gum and lip while they're doing the procedure. Plastic doesn't offer that much rigidity to retract with. So we're going to remove the tip, set the tip aside. We will get our syringe tool, which is available from DCI. It's part number 9287. This is an indispensable syringe tool, guys. You really need this. With the Allen wrench attachment on the front, we're going to remove the tip holder. Counterclockwise, we're going to unscrew very gently and set the tip holder aside with the retainer spring. As you look into the inside of the syringe, there's a small O-ring, as illustrated, that fits into an indentation. This O-ring is very important when reassembling the syringe, guys. We'll take our new tip holder. The O-rings aren't replaceable in the tip holder itself, by the way, guys. you have to replace the syringe the whole tip holder when you have this type of syringe. Taking your O-ring that comes with your new syringe holder, drop it down into the syringe using the blunt end of your syringe tool. Press it down into the orifice as so. Make sure you get a good press on it. You can use your Q-tips. Guys, have some Q-tips laid out. And also some O-ring lube. Do not use Vaseline. Do not use lithium grease. Do not use silicone grease. Use O-ring lubricant only. We've replaced our O-ring. This is a very important part. Make sure your spring is inside of the new tip holder and collar assembly, like so. You'll see a notch in the new tip holder assembly. A slight cutout is illustrated right here. And you'll also see a post coming out in the syringe. This notch must align to that post, which is at a 6 o'clock position. So doing that, we will retract the outer ring, take our tool, and being very careful while we're retracting that we are starting straight and not cross-threading. If we cross-thread this, the guy does have to buy a new syringe. We'll tighten it down securely. Reinstall the tip. Guys, to install the tips on these, you push the outer ring like so. Put the tip in till it snaps. Release the outer ring, swivel the tip 360 degrees. And the tip process is completed on the syringe rebuild. We'll remove the tip again and concentrate on the buttons. Again, we have our handy dandy DCI syringe tool. These syringe buttons are retained in by means of a pin like so that goes through the syringe and holds the cartridges or the buttons in. So what we're going to do is extract the pin. If you'll notice, our tool has the exact right size to extract the pin, and lay the pin aside and pull our tool back out, starting with one button at a time. We will remove the button and the spring and set them aside. Sorry guys, I had a button get away from me. It'll get away from you too, so be careful. Now with our Q-tips, we want to clean the syringe port. Give it a nice scrubbing and wipe down, because disinfectants get in here. See, disinfectants, debris, glove dust, any number of things can get in the syringe. We're going to remove our second button and set it aside. Very gently, luxate, and pull. Set it aside, and we're going to remember to remove our conical spring, and we're going to repeat the process on the water side. Now we're ready to replace the cartridges. Ladies and gentlemen, the cartridges can be rebuilt using O-rings. You're going to add about 15 to 20 minutes after you're familiar with the procedure. At the start, you're going to add about 30 minutes onto it when you press these new O-rings on. So you can buy the entire button, which is part number 3625 from DCI, and replace the entire button. Is the easiest way to do it. They come in a repair kit. They have an Allen wrench, a spring, the whole 9 yards. Before we replace the syringe the syringe buttons, we're going to put just a little dollop of lube on them. We're not going to go nuts. Just a little bit will do. top O-ring, bottom O-ring. Get a good thorough coating on them, but a thin coating. Okay, we will take our new springs, drop the spring into the port, look down, tap it, make sure it's seated correctly. Then we replace the button. Being gentle, aiming right for it, push down thoroughly until you get good retraction and good spring back. Okay? We're going to repeat the process for the water side. Remember guys, O-ring lube only. You can buy it in small packets from DCI if you don't want to buy the whole tube. I suggest going ahead and getting the whole tube. You can get it from RPI or DCI through us, parts at dentalfixrx.com. I suggest getting the whole tube because you'll use these on every O-ring. Every O-ring needs to be lubed when it's installed. We're seating our button and we're installing our button on top of our spring. This is very important, the next step, guys. Watch closely. You want to fully depress both buttons. Fully depress both buttons till they bottom out. Then replace your pin. Let your buttons up. Check your buttons for springiness and resiliency, and they feel wonderful. Reinstall your tip. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure in the field I have run into it, and I'm sure you guys have too, where you cannot get the handle screwed off, where there's been some kind of galvanic reaction or chemical reaction where they use two light metals against each other. If you take a little O-ring lube or whatever you have and grease these threads, lube these threads, before you screw the handle back on, you'll never have the problem of disassembling the syringe again. If it's you or the next guy that comes around, it will be a joy to service the syringe. With that being done, you want to hit the air a couple of times, rapid succession. The water a couple of times, rapid succession. Make sure the water stops, make sure there's no drips. Hit both buttons simultaneously with your thumb to create a mist. Hence the term three-way syringe, by the way. Air, water, and mist. 3 ways of operation. To press both buttons at one time to get a nice atomization or mist and test that. Wait about 30 seconds, 40 seconds with the syringe in the holder. Make sure you don't have any drips. Make sure you don't have any problems and you're good to go. One more test, excuse me, on your watch crystal, squirt water. Dry the water off. Then hit air only. You should only get air when you push the air button after your rebuild. That's going to be one of your main problems, is air in the water. It's all due to the O-rings and the tip holder and replacement of the tip holder. As usual, guys, if you have any questions regarding this syringe or any further questions, you can call Paul or myself. Let me take a moment to go briefly over another type of tip holder that you'll see predominantly on a Parts Warehouse syringe or a Beaver State syringe. It's a push tip holder like this. They're very easily serviced using the same syringe tool and the same O-ring. Unscrew the tip holder. It comes in 2 parts. Push it out like this. There will be 1 or 2 O-rings. There will be 1 or 2 O-rings in the tip holder itself to replace. You don't have to order a whole new tip holder for this, guys. See the 2 O-rings that have come out from the inside? You can replace these O-rings easily. They're available in your DCI O-ring kit. So there's no need to order a syringe kit for this one. And you can goop these with lube, okay? You can put as much lube as you want on them. Reset them back in the syringe cone in the tip holder in the order in which they came out. They're both the same size, so it's pretty much impossible to get them crossed up. Take a Q-tip or something, seat them thoroughly Make sure they seat up to the top of the cone. Now, on your ferrule, you have a small O-ring. You can match this O-ring up in your DCI O-ring kit. This is the O-ring. This is really the most important O-ring on this type of tip retainer or tip holder. We're going to put a little bit of lube on it, stick it back up in our ferrule, make sure it flushes out good, which it does. Reinstall it in our syringe tip, like so, in our tip holder, like so, making sure it's pushed in all the way. And we'll screw it back into our syringe head. And give it a testaroonie, make sure that we're okay. And we are. Remember, with any syringe tip, after you insert, you want to swivel 360 degrees to help seat the O-rings into the notch in the syringe tip. And that concludes this style syringe tip holder. The buttons are the same. It's just a different style holder. Again, I stress, guys, this is a pretty good clean way to make a couple of bucks, and it's a good way to get into the doctor's office, because not every technician in the world is good with a syringe. And let me stress again, if you repair this syringe, you will endear yourself to your account, and you'll make yourself indispensable. Anybody can go in and sell a syringe. It takes a technician to repair one. Thank you for your attendance, and have a good day.